right, y'all. Welcome back. Happy Monday. Trying to catch y'all on maybe like a lunch break or something like that. I know that most people are probably busy at work, but live stream, man, just talking about where Tennessee's at the midway point through the season. Obviously, there's some things that we need to get better at. There's some things that we're doing well. And I'm going to show you how we stack up versus the rest of the SEC. And I know that we got the Kentucky Wildcats coming up on Saturday. I've watched a little bit of film on them. I haven't watched like a ton of it, but we'll talk about that too, just like some opening thoughts. Not really like a typical week, y'all. It's a game that I can tell you right here, right now. I mean, we hate them, they hate us, but right now they are the worst team in the SEC. They do some things well, but it's not. This should really be like a get right game for our Tennessee Volunteers. And I want to kind of start things off with the main reason why I wanted to do this live stream and see what people are thinking, see how people are feeling, and just like share my thoughts, is because I'm seeing that there's a lot of people, and this happens all the time. Like, this is basically normal. But talking about firing Coach Heupel, talking about firing this coach, that coach. I mean, I would say that I don't think anybody needs to get fired at this point. Like we kind of started off, they can do some things better, but I don't think that it's anywhere near that point. Coach Heupel is one of the best head coaches that Tennessee football has had ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's one of the best ever. I would love to know who are we going out to get as our head coach if we do fire Coach Heupel. I'm wondering who's the new DC if we fire Coach Tim Banks, or who's the new offensive coordinator. Football is one of those games, and I need to stop saying that it's such a simple game, because everything is simple if you look at it from like a 50-foot view, right? Like, even life is simple if you look at it from like really far away. If you look at the big picture of things, very simple. But in all honesty, football is, I think, it's probably the most complicated sport. There's a lot of moving pieces to it. It's not as cut and dry as, I just think that people want to blame somebody. Sometimes you just play poorly. It's so many players on a football team. I think about it. As a head coach, I think as a college head coach, which is probably one of the toughest jobs in this whole country, if you think about what all they have to do, you got to manage 100+ different young players, young student athletes. On top of that, you got to manage your entire staff. You probably have a staff of maybe 50 or so people. You also have to manage everyone's families. You have to know everybody's families. And then you're still trying to go out and find different players, and you have to get to know different families, and then you have to be able to coach football. You have to make sure that people are still happy. And you got to talk to the media. You have to make Tennessee look good all the time. I mean, it's so many things that goes into it. It's a very difficult job, especially as a head coach, but I think as a coordinator, that's not easy. As any coach on that level, it's like they're on call 24 hours. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't get much of a break. They don't get to spend very much time with their families. I just think that we have to sometimes take a step back, maybe touch some grass, and just realize that, man, like, these are all human beings, and nobody's ever going to be perfect. I think that we were in a position to actually win the game down in Tuscaloosa. So I'm curious, for the people who want to have someone fired, did you have Tennessee winning that game? I'm literally just like, maybe just ask yourself that. Did you have Tennessee winning? And then once we got into the game, you realize, oh, wait a second. I didn't have Tennessee winning this, but we actually had a chance, and now you're mad and you want to fire somebody. For us to even have a chance to go down there and win, that speaks volumes about how far we've come in such a short period of time. Coach Heupel came into a huge mess. He's held on to his staff. That's a huge thing. Holding on to your staff, people get mad that he doesn't fire folks, but I think that there's a lot to be said about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a real family. I can tell you all that from a lot of players that I've talked to that have visited Tennessee. Some of the guys that are at Tennessee, they love Coach Heupel. Okay, they absolutely love him, and I think that they want to give their all for him. They want to give their all for Tennessee and for this fan base. It's never going to be perfect. This is now the playoff era. We lose 2 ball games, right? Halfway through the season, we've already lost 2 to 2 good teams. How many folks had us beating Georgia? It wasn't a whole lot. It was not a whole lot. That's a game that we really should have won. Can't necessarily say that we should have beat Alabama. I can say that if we played cleaner, then we would have had a better chance to win the game. I think that we can beat them. I think that we can play with them. I don't think that they're 17 points better than us. But, most people just, they didn't have us winning those games anyway. So why are we so angry at this point? You know what I mean? Again, things that we need to get better at, things that we're also doing well. And for anybody that's maybe wondering about some of my grades that I had on this team in different spots, you have to ask yourself this too. if you went back and watched the film, number one, ask yourself that: did you even go back and watch the live copy? And if you did, if there's a spot that you think maybe I gave too high of a grade to, which is perfectly fine, I'm just curious. Could you see what they did on the plays when the camera wasn't on them? Could you see what they were doing off the football? Could you see all the positive things that they did? Because if we could talk about Tennessee safeties or secondary, whatever. I know a lot of folks are mad at them, but they had good coverage. Like when the ball's not going to them, it typically means that they had good coverage. So it's not just about what happens on the ball, which, yeah, we got to do better at certain things, but you have to just give the credit where it's due. And whenever I'm putting out grades, I'm not just going to focus on all of the negative things. I want to focus on everything. What'd you do poorly? What'd you do well? So on and so forth. But, that's about where I'm at. I'm going to hop into the chat, and we have a lot of things that we're going to try to cover today. I really just want to get y'all's thoughts and see how people are feeling. So this first one right here, let me move this over so I can see it better. All right, so this one is from Roll Tide. All right, so Roll Tide, we're not playing Alabama anymore. I don't know why the hell you're still here, but I'm going to read this off for you, and that's probably going to be it. So we'll see how this goes. That's probably going to be it. All right, so Roll Tide, games are won and lost in the trenches. Bama had 4 sacks. Tennessee had 0. Surprised most people aren't talking about that. Well, games are won and lost in the trenches, and I can tell you, and I'm gonna leave this up while I'm talking. We pushed y'all's asses around physically. Y'all's trench game is garbage. Over the course of the season, we have a lot more sacks than you. Yeah, y'all had sacks in that game, and I'm not even gonna go necessarily into why. Tip my cap to you. Okay, tip my cap to you. Tennessee has 0. Should have did better. But did you run the damn football, or did you get stuffed? Are y'all soft or not? See what I'm saying? Like, y'all could not run the damn football. We ran it down your throats. We ran it down your throats. All right? And we also had plenty of time to be able to operate and throw the football too. Now, on the ones, and I said I wasn't even going to go into it, but on like 2, maybe even 3 of the 4 sacks that y'all had, we had wide receivers that would have been wide open that fell down. All right? So that's going to be it from you and from any other Alabama fan. I don't want to hear that stuff. Y'all about to make me start cussing. We don't like y'all. Y'all know damn well that we don't like y'all. You need to go to an Alabama channel. This is not. We're done playing y'all. I don't want to hear from you anymore. Okay. So let's just get that cleared up because this is about. Did this say anything about Alabama or did this say Tennessee? What the hell are you doing here? You need to go find something to do, bro. You need to go find something safe to do because this is not a safe place for you right now. All right, so next one from an actual Tennessee fan. Thank you for joining us, sir. Thank you for joining us, champion. All right, saying that I think that y'all will be better next year than this year. I'm not quite sure who y'all is, but I know that I've seen you in here several times. I don't know if you're talking to the Alabama fan or what, but yeah, I'm not interested in hearing from Alabama fans by any means. Y'all can go kick some damn rocks some damn where. All right, so let me move on. And let's talk about Kentucky. Let's just take a quick look at some of their stats. This is their game log, okay? So we can see who all they've played. Not a super tough schedule, the out-of-conference stuff obviously isn't going to be super tough. But as far as Ole Miss, we know that Ole Miss, they have a good offense. They don't have as good of a defense. I hadn't really watched a lot of their defense. I thought that they'd be better versus Georgia, but man, their defense looks really bad. So Kentucky scored 23 points in that game, but they lost 32-23. So pretty close. I mean, that kind of says something that their defense was able to limit what Ole Miss does. Ole Miss runs the same system that Tennessee does. So that says something. But as far as what they're doing, and this is just all of their numbers, passing the football, they went 16 of 33. That's only 48.5%. There's a lot of stuff that's under 60% here. Only one game that they went over 60%. That was versus Texas. So that definitely also says something. But 48.5% passing, 187 yards, 0 passing touchdowns. Now, running the football, they ran it 37 times, 4.6 yards per carry, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Again, versus Ole Miss, that doesn't tell me too much just because their defense isn't great. Now, let's take a look at South Carolina. So they lost that game 35-13. They went 10 of 19 passing, so they really wanted to stick to the running game. 52.6%, 0 passing touchdowns. And as far as rushing, 41 carries, only 108 yards, 2.6 yards per carry with 1 rushing touchdown. That doesn't look great. Now, versus Georgia, they lost 35-14. They passed the football a lot. Everybody knows you can pass the football on Georgia. They went 25 of 42, 59.5%, 225 yards, two passing touchdowns. The interceptions, for some reason, I don't see them in here. I might be overlooking that, but I don't see them. So they ran the football 22 times for only 45 yards, which is just atrocious. 2 yards per carry. And then last weekend versus Texas, that's a game that they lost in overtime, 16-13. They passed the football, man, look, 31 of 40, 77.5%, 258 yards, no passing touchdowns. And they ran the football 46 times, 137 yards, 3 yards per carry with one rushing touchdown. This is a game, I've told y'all previously that I do listen to, I think it's like On Texas or something. I think they have a really good channel. And I know I'm not a Texas fan, but I just like listening to people who like talk ball and know what they're talking about. But yeah, just kind of like listening to some of their opening thoughts, or not even like opening thoughts. It was post-game stuff, but I listened to a small portion of it with the game last weekend. They were saying that, man, Texas, their offense was terrible and that they couldn't really get anything going. I think that what they scored, did they say 10 points off of basically like special team stuff? I don't know. I mean, like I said, I watched a good, not even like a good bit. I watched maybe like the first quarter of their offense. I didn't really watch much of their defense, and I saw a couple of guys flash. So number 3 at running back, he looks like he runs pretty hard. They spread the field out just from what I saw early on, and a whole lot of like quick game stuff. So like quick screens. It seems like they want to stretch the field out vertically. Pretty decent route combinations, not super great, but I would say better than what Georgia did versus us. You can tell that they're actually trying to set things up better than what Georgia did. What else? They have a pretty stout offensive line. Number 84 at tight end, he kind of flashed to me. I saw him make a good block early on. 87, he's another tight end. Saw him make a catch, had to double clutch it, but he seems like he's pretty big. I have to go back through and finish watching that game and finish watching a lot more film to figure out how I feel about this matchup. But I'm just going to say it. This is we talked about it earlier. This should be a get right game. All right. And also, man, y'all please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I don't know if I've even said that yet, but y'all please do that for us because obviously that helps us out in a major, major way. Helps this video to get pushed out to other people. We are still trying to grow. We would love it if people would share this on social media, share it on message boards, all that type of stuff. I don't want to ask too much of y'all, but that would definitely help us to grow. So P and I can do this full time. I feel like in every single video I should have my brother right here with me breaking this stuff down, and we can just bring y'all a lot better content. So please help us out. Please do like and make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. And, whenever you're watching videos, try to watch as much of it as possible. But anyway, I do want to move on and talk about some things with Tennessee, okay? So let's talk about where we're at halfway through the season. I'm going to tap back into this chat. Let's see, who all do we got in here? All right. So this right here, he's saying he's talking to me. Okay, so I thought you was a Tennessee fan. So, I mean, if you're not a Tennessee fan, then you can kick rocks too, brother. All right, so next one, Lex is saying that armchair analyst talking about 0 sacks, kick rocks. Big facts, yeah, big facts. So this one right here, saying I think all the frustration comes from us knowing that we are a much better team than what we played, and we know it, we've seen it. Yeah, and that's true. We did not play well in that game. There were some things that we did that were just not very consistent with what Tennessee football has been over the course of the year. But that's why we do have to be cleaner on the road. And let me get to this chat first, and then I'm gonna finish with my thought. All right, so thank you for joining us, brother. Saying that everything is still in front of this team, and that myself and probably most of the rest of Tennessee fans and Georgia fans and had Georgia and Alabama as losses and the rest of the games as wins. Yeah, and that's. I'm kind of there with you, and I'm not mad at it. Like, look, if you had those as losses, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I mean, obviously Tennessee lost those games. I'm not saying it that way. But what I am saying is I guess I don't understand. If you thought that we were going to lose those games, and then once we lose, why would you now want to try to call for people's jobs, right? Like that part of it, that doesn't make any sense to me personally. All right. And if you're not a Tennessee fan, I'm skipping over comments, dog. Okay. All right. So he's saying he's a Tennessee fan, but he's just trolling. Let me pull this up. All right. So you're a Tennessee fan, but you're just trolling. Yeah. Okay. Well, look, that's perfectly fine as long as you are a Vol fan, because I'm gonna tell you, if y'all couldn't notice, If y'all haven't noticed, for those of y'all that have watched this channel, which I know I've seen you in a lot of our streams, I'm not trying to be mean to you or nothing like that, but I want for people to understand something. I love my Vols. I am a diehard Tennessee fan. I'm passionate about my Vols. And I don't like Alabama. I don't give a damn about the whole state of Alabama. I can't stand Georgia either. I don't like Florida. I don't like anybody in the SEC except for my Vols. All right, so I'm not, if I'm a little bit on edge, it's just because I feel like, the same thing that was just brought up previously, that this team can be better, and we're going to start going through some of the stuff, like some of the places where we can be better at. But I'm also, in some instances, a little bit, just a taste, a little bit frustrated with some of the thoughts of we need to be firing people, because I think that this staff has done a really good job considering what they came into. They've gotten us relevant very, very quickly, and we were definitely in that Georgia game. Like I said, we really won that game everywhere except for the scoreboard. But when it comes to that Alabama game, it's a game of inches. Those errors, it can just change things very, very quickly. So yeah, I am a little bit on edge with all that. I'm not really in the mood for trolling, in this stream, dog. All right, so now next one right here from my dog. Yeah, so people are talking about fire and hype, that there are very few proven coaches out there that are going to want to move. Most of the candidates out there would be long shots Penn State is going to see soon. And you know what? That's true. I think that LSU might be in a spot where maybe Brian Kelly. I'm not wishing the firing on any person. I never want to see. I don't wish bad on anybody. I don't care if you're a rival school or rival person. Like, these are still people. But I could see LSU maybe trying to part ways with Brian Kelly. I don't know what his buyout is, but I know that they got some deep pockets down there too. They'll figure it out. But that could be open. Florida, obviously, that one's open. I mean, there's some. Auburn might be open too. There's some big name jobs out there that are open at this point. So this is not even the best season to be trying to fire coaches. And that might maybe give some of those coaches that I talked about, maybe give them one more year. Because folks know, man, the market is going to be crazy. You're going to have to really overpay these coaches. And then what the coach from Indiana, how much money did he just make? I mean, that's kind of like what the market value is now for these new programs. It's going to go way up. So and I know the people are really just venting. They're just angry. I don't think that they sincerely mean that. Most of the people probably don't. But yeah, this is not the right time for that. All right, so let me go on ahead and start jumping into these numbers and all that, because we've had it up here for quite some time. But thank y'all so much for joining it. I'm gonna come right back to the chat. All right, so this is just showing Tennessee's passing offense. These are just a couple of numbers that I got from Pro Football Focus. So we've dropped back to pass the football 300 times, and we've thrown it 277 times. Both of those numbers is more than anybody else in this conference. Previously, we've been a run-first team. I think that we need to balance things out more. I know that, hey, man, look, we got a passing offense now. We're getting very pass-happy, and we have to do better there. Versus Alabama, we could have run the football more. If we ran the football more, some of the issues that we had with throwing the pick sixes and all that, and any issue that we had passing the football wouldn't have been as bad. Some of the sacks that we had, wouldn't have had them if we're sticking to the run game more. So this is something that I think Tennessee definitely needs to do better at. I don't care. Look, it's great that the passing game's there, but the passing game and the running game, that works in concert. We gotta stick to the run, because we can still run it, and we'll take a look at those numbers here in just a second. Now, as far as the rate at which we're hitting on passes, they're saying 61%. So that's for the entire team. It's not just with Joey Aguilar's, with all the quarterbacks. 61%. That's number 10 in the SEC. Now, if you take out the drops and all that type of stuff, we'd be at close to 75%, 74.9%, which is number 5 in the SEC. That goes up tremendously, okay, if you take out all the drops. And we have 28 drops, right? So that's the worst in the SEC. That's the most drops in this conference. We got to do way better there. If there's anything that I could point to that I want for this team to do better at, it's with basic fundamental stuff. We got to catch the damn football. Feels like some of the stuff that we've already started to talk about, we talked about that like a quarter of the way through this season. We had to catch the ball. We had a problem with it last year too. I have no idea why. This is something that I think as a coach, we can emphasize this more in every single drill. It's cool to have a tennis ball out there and work on the eye tracking and all that. But dog, get some real footballs out there, and something that I do for all of the young players, anybody that's coming up playing ball, get you a real NFL football. Get you a real one. You got to break it in and all that type of stuff. It takes some work. It's a whole process. But that ball is bigger, typically catching, it's bigger, and I think it's also like a little bit more, it's like harder or something. But catching those types of footballs is better for your hands. It's a lot easier to catch the smaller balls once you've caught the bigger ones. This is something that I would personally like to implement in our practices. And I wouldn't just do this with our pass catchers. I do it with every person on the whole damn team. Hard to do it with the front guys. But I'd work something in every single day. Hey, we're going to catch the football. Because there were some times when, and I'm not picking on anybody, it's tough to do, but there were some times when we could have had some interceptions in this game on defense, obviously, and we just dropped them. We got to have better hands. Secondary needs to have better hands, the whole team, but especially our damn pass catchers. We're leading this conference in drops. We might be leading the whole country. I haven't even looked at those numbers, but I wouldn't be shocked. Got to be way better there. Way better there. That's the number one point of emphasis for this entire offense. Okay? You need to stay your ass after practice, and I know that there's rules and stuff. You might not be able to stay on the field. There's some other fields, some down where get Joey Aguilar's ass out there too, and get the offensive lineman out there too. Work on your pass sets while we're doing this. Get the secondary, get the whole team out there. Because I know that we want to limit the people's wear and tear on their legs and all that. Got to be careful, all right? Got to be careful. But get out there and walk some damn routes and catch the damn football. This is inexcusable. This is a joke now. Catch the ball. All right. So let's go on to the next thing. We have 17 passing touchdowns, which is third in this conference, 120 first downs, which is second, and that's all passing. All right. So we have 7 interceptions. That's tied at number 15, so second worst in this conference. We know that 4 of them weren't really on Joey because people can't catch the damn football. But at the same time, that last one, if we're ever in the red zone, you got to throw the football harder. It's got to be a zip pass. It's got to be zipped unless they are super wide open. And he might have thought that they were going to be wide open. I can't be overly mad at Joey. Yeah, that was a bad pass, but that was a bad call. Like, we have to use our brain some. Let's not overthink. Let's not try to get cute. This is Smash Mouth football team. As P stated after the game, we would have been better off just running the ball there. Hindsight's 2020. I totally get that. But let's just, as complicated as football can be, let's try to use our brain and let's not overcomplicate it. All right, so we've given up 7 sacks, which is 4th in the SEC. We went way down. We were number 1, but the sacks that we gave up in this game wasn't good. We're mixing and matching with the offensive line. Guys weren't used to playing on different sides. Doesn't mean that we lost up front. That's one of the stupidest freaking comments and chats that I've seen on this channel, period. You freaking idiot. All right, now 2.77. That's the time to throw. Okay, that's the average time to throw passes. 2.77 seconds. That's 9th in the SEC. What this means is from snap to throwing the football. Most of that's going to be on the scheme. I think that we're doing a good job. That's not a place that you want to be super high at, because if you're super high, it means that all you're doing is quick game stuff. You're not really going down the field. Tennessee mixes it up well, so I'm not mad at that number, but I did want to throw it out there for y'all. That's still good. 2.77 seconds. All right. As far as the yards after the catch, we're at 5.6 yards. So that's number 12 in the SEC. So we can do a little bit of a better job. We can do a much better job of getting more yards after the catch. But catch the football first, okay? Let's just work on that first. One thing at a time. Catch the ball on a much more consistent basis. And then after that, dog, we got players who can make plays. We got guys who can do some stuff. And I think that we have very friendly route combinations that should help them to get out into the open field. Now, speaking on that, last thing, actually, let me touch on this first. We have 2,287 receiving and passing yards, which is number 1 in this conference. Now, with all that being said, I do think that, and we talked about this preseason, we talked about it preseason. We talked about it some after the first few games. We talked about, man, the passing offense looks really good, doesn't it? But at some point, teams are going to start to figure out what we're doing, because it's a totally different passing system and really offense, period, than what it was last year. So teams, it takes some time for them to get the film and figure out, okay, this is what we want to do. What I saw versus Alabama, it wasn't a lot of things that we had changed. We didn't really add to it. I thought that Coach Hyper would have some things kind of schemed up in this game, which he typically does. He just might not have been able to get to those things. But we do need to add a few things. And I know that we have more than what we showed, but we need to show more. You know what I'm saying? Add some things. And Alabama, it's funny because with Pro Football Focus, they'll have things broken down as far as the passing scheme or the coverage scheme that a defense runs. And I told y'all, I felt like 80% of the plays that Alabama ran versus us was in cover 3. So I want to say that PFF had them at 30-something, maybe 34% in cover 3. It was 44, almost 45%. They didn't know what the coverage was, but it was cover 3. So it really was. It was very close to like 80% of the plays was cover three. So we need to have more beaters versus cover three. We need to have more beaters versus everything, and we need to show that. And I just don't think that we opened it up as much as we could have versus Alabama. But moving forward, man, we can be a lot more versatile, and that's what needs to happen. All right, so this is Tennessee's run offense. So 264 attempts. That's number 6 in the SEC. As I said, we can run the football more. We should be probably top 4 here. You know what I mean? And which would bring our passing down to maybe 2 or 3. It should be about in that spot. You know, it's more balanced that way. But we're also hopefully run first. This we can run the football well. So we have almost 1,500 yards rushing, which is number 5 in this conference. 41 rushes of over 10 plus yards or 10 or more yards. And that's tied in 4th place. Okay, I want to say that there might be maybe 3 other teams that have like the exact same numbers, 2 or 3 teams. But as far as the yards per carry, 5.6, that's 5th in the SEC. Rushing touchdowns, 19, that's 4th. First downs, we have 82, that's 5th. Forced missed tackles, y'all, we have 49 of those, that's number 7. And yards before contact, 2.4 yards, we're at number 3 there. What that tells me, what that should tell all of us, is that the offensive line does a really good job of opening up the running lanes. I think that our running scheme is also good. And now versus Alabama, the inside zone stuff didn't work as well as it typically does. I don't think that the gap scheme stuff worked as much as it typically did. We didn't run as much of that as we typically would. But it's because Alabama had a good scheme on defense where they are bringing the pressure right up the middle so that we can't run it right up the middle. But we said, okay, well, what is outside zone you? Outside zone is one of the worst things that Tennessee's done. I think that we've had one good run leading up to the Alabama game so far this year. Only one. And I think that was versus Syracuse. You know, like, and I'm not going to say one good one really good one, because I'm talking about 10 plus yards. So of the, what is it, how many, 41 rushing plays of 10 plus yards, might be up to maybe 8 now from the outside zone, but that looked a lot better, showing the patience on the cutback lanes. It looked more like what I would call stretch plays. And, you know, we're blocking it better. So that is very, very positive because we can still run inside, but now we can run outside too. You know, that is a huge, huge, huge deal for this offense. All right, and then we're averaging 3.2 yards after contact, which is number 8 in the SEC. I think that we could maybe not even so much about, you know, so like with the missed tackles for us, we can make people miss more on the 2nd and 3rd levels. Got to do a little bit better there. Running through contact, we don't have like the biggest backs, but yeah, I think we're probably in a pretty solid spot there. And as far as fumbles, we're tied in 4th place. We have 4 fumbles on the year, and that's just rushing. Okay, so let me get to some more of these chats. All right, and then we're going to talk about Tennessee's defense. All right, so this one's saying that he thinks that Oklahoma beats Tennessee. I don't think so. I'm not too concerned about the Oklahoma. Listen, Oklahoma will present some challenges. Obviously, Florida fired their coach. I don't know how it's going to look now. The guy that's taken over, he was with Urban Meyer whenever Urban Meyer was there. He was on his staff. That Urban Meyer offense, I think I was talking about this with my pops yesterday. I'm not sure if that's still going to work these days. I got to go back and look at it, but I mean they've got some playmakers, but that one's going to be interesting too. Vandy, that one could be pretty interesting, but I think that we'll beat Vandy just because we always beat Vandy. But I think that we're going to end up being fine. Honestly speaking, I think that Tennessee is going to be fine. I think we have every single chance to win out. So this right here from Aaron Atkins is saying that, well, we definitely need Mod back. I would love to have him back. I don't know how much of a difference Mod would have made in the game versus Alabama. And this is something that I've talked about. I've talked about it on social media. I've talked about it here on this channel. I've talked about it to the members. And if we showed this, I want to say everyone got to see this in the film breakdown that we did of Tennessee's defense versus Bama. We showed you. It was one of the first passing plays where Colton Hood, he gets beat on a fade. It's just like there's certain things that if it's executed perfectly by the offense, there's nothing that anybody can do to stop it. So Mod coming back, I don't think that would stop it. Now, would he maybe be better at tackling? Yeah, I think that our cornerbacks last year were overall more physical than the ones this year. They were better at tackling. You know, they would do like the basic fundamental stuff a lot better. I think that they were probably a little bit more physical within like the actual routes and all that type of stuff too. Obviously, it would be huge if he comes back. I don't know that he will. Honestly, like we'll see. Does he do any like full team practicing, full speed practicing with the contact and stuff this week? If he doesn't do it this week, I don't understand why. You know, I think that he will need to come back for this game because obviously we got Oklahoma coming up next week. I mean, like that's the game that we really need him for. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that we would need him as much this weekend, but I don't know that he's going to be coming back. So we got to figure it out with our corners. But I do think that our cornerbacks have played relatively well outside of just like fundamental stuff, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. Now, let me get to some more of these. So this one's saying that he thinks that McIntyre is better than Aguilar. That's just me. All right, yeah. So you are just trolling. I think that's going to be it for you, brother. All right. So Stingray saying that I wouldn't want anything more to see. I wouldn't want anything more than to see us in the playoffs, and the way that we're playing, we wouldn't last. How is this wrong? Okay. I mean, well, this is my thoughts on it. It really is all going to be based off of the matchup. So Tennessee's team this year, it's a lot better. And I know people will think, well, we beat Alabama last season, but we lost to them this year. I mean, it's so different from week to week. It's so different from season to season. This offensive line is a lot better. It's a lot deeper than it was last season. Like I said, if you can run the football, if you can stop the run, which I know we haven't done it too much over the course of the year, I'm still concerned about teams that have a more like versatile running game than what Alabama does. We knew that we'd look fine versus them because their running game is very, very basic. If we can look better out in space, now that we've got the young linebackers playing more, I think that our safeties are fitting things up better. Then I think that we can play with pretty much anybody. I mean, that the pass rush didn't look good versus Bama. Doesn't mean that it's not going to look good versus other teams. I just think that it was something within Bama's scheme that maybe threw us off. All the chipping that they do with their tight ends, with their running backs and wide receivers on our ends messed us up. I don't think that our stunt game, especially with our tackles, looked as good. But this is an offense that, if we don't stop ourselves, okay, we can score on anybody. We can score on anybody because we have a good offensive line. We have a quarterback that's going to take those chances. Got to take better care of the football. And then we've got wide receivers who can either take the top off, they can all take the top off, but they also do a good job with their routes, running good routes for the most part. And, just all of that type of stuff. I think that we can beat most teams in this country. It's not like it's not a huge gap this year like it was in previous seasons. In previous years, it was like, well, Alabama and Georgia have all the talent. Nobody else has anybody. But now with the transfer portal, which I didn't love to start things off, but there's a lot more parity with NIL, all that. Obviously, especially inside of this conference, the talent is spread out a lot thinner. So the whole point here is you look at the Big Ten. They've got a couple of teams, really one. I think that the Buckeyes are like a strong team. Everybody else seem very gettable to me. They seem like pretty much average SEC teams. I think that we could be fun, but styles make fights. So it's just all about getting the right matchups. This is more like the NFL to me. Where it's no telling who's going to end up winning. All right, so this one right here from Charles, he's saying that Joey made one of the biggest mistakes I've seen by a Tennessee player. That one was huge, and I think that like that picture or that like little video clip of the coaching staff, like, oh my gosh, and I'm thinking the same thing too, like, oh my gosh, why did you call that play? Like, oh my gosh, that was a stupid play call. So I think that they've learned now, like let's not do stupid stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was I'm not going to argue with you. That was a terrible play. All right, so this one right here is from G-Force, and he's saying that Hype ain't close to getting fired. If anything, he should be getting a raise. I think so too, especially if you look at like the talent gap between us, Bama and Georgia. It's close, but it's still pretty big. We were right. I mean, we're definitely in the Georgia game versus Alabama. We should have been closer. He does not need to be fired. All right, so it was only weeks ago people thought that this season would be 100%. Like, think about the fact that, man, we're bringing in Joey Aguilar. Nobody thought that he could play, so on and so forth. And, we're losing a 5-star quarterback. I mean, I know that the memory of this type of stuff is pretty short, but sometimes we just got to step back and take a look at everything. All right, so this one from Charles is saying that everyone thinks that the pick six killed Tennessee, but it was the safety. That one was bad too. That one was also bad. It was a tie ball game, and we gave them 2 free points, and that they get the ball back and score, then the pick six. Yeah, I mean, I think that both of those things could be true. Like, it doesn't have to just be one thing. It was just bad stuff going on. You know what I mean? Just giving up way too many things that we shouldn't have. All right, so this one from Charles is saying that Vandy won't be easy. Yeah, the Sooners won't be easy. And worried about the Gators, and it might be a game the Gators need to make a bowl. Yeah, I mean, look, this the SEC. I don't think really any of the games are ever going to be easy. It's like those days are over with, bro. I don't care what people's records are. It's never going to be easy. I'm going to get to this one, and then I'm going to go through the defense. So this was saying that Perry got blown up on that safety. Need quick passes when you're backed up there. Yeah, I think so too. There's some things that we could have done. And actually, I want to say that was the play when somebody slipped. I think it might have been Braylon Staley, might have been on that play, but it was a couple of them when people are just slipping in their routes or they tripped. I think that maybe Braylon Staley tripped on Miles Kitselman's foot or something. Miles Kitselman's got to get out the way, but we also need to like draw it up better where if we know that we're going to be going underneath a tight end who's going to be going vertical, we got to pause there. Like we got to take more time there to let him clear out because we know that we're going to, pretty much like he's coming off of the snap. It's like a 7-yard run for the wide receiver. It's a 2-yard run for him. Well, we're going to beat him to that spot because we're like way faster than him. So that's the type of stuff that I think that the staff can do better with just as far as scheming up. And maybe they did scheme it up that way. Maybe the route wasn't run the proper way. I can't tell you that. But let's talk about Tennessee's defense so far. All right, so we have dropped back versus 300 passes, right? We've seen 277 passes. That looks exactly like the offense's numbers, which is crazy. So I think that those numbers here, so this is the offense's number. So those are incorrect. Let me see if I can pull up the proper ones for you because I made an error there. But let me see if I can get that to y'all, and then we'll talk about it. But one of the things that I can tell you for sure is that our defense, we faced the most dropbacks just as far as passing. So let me see if I can get this thing right because that is incorrect. Give me just a second. And we'll see what the actual numbers are. I'm not going to be able to pull it up for you, but I can read it out for you. All right. Let's see where it's at. Boom, boom, boom. We might not even be able to get to that. We might have to do it on a totally separate video. Let's see. Okay, so I think that this right here might be it. Okay, so we have been in coverage for 315 snaps, which is first in the SEC. We're giving up passes at 67.4%, which is second to last in the SEC. We've given up 1,852 yards, which is 15th in the SEC. We've given up 10 touchdowns. That's tied at 14th in the SEC. 84 first downs. That's tied for, I believe, 15th or 16th in the SEC. And then we're giving up 11.5 yards per catch, which is 12th in the SEC. All right, so sorry about that. Sorry that those numbers got skewed on here. I'm not quite sure how that happened. But with all that being said, the whole point here is that, yeah, there's some things that our defense isn't necessarily doing well. Tennessee's pass defense, obviously we've missed a ton of tackles. We have to do way, way, way better there. And I think that Tennessee can do it. It's just about not really, I think that there's some things that you could do from a coaching standpoint. So we've missed 28 tackles over the course of the year, which is, or actually, I think that that's wrong. That's how many passes, or that's how many passes that we've dropped. I don't know exactly how many missed tackles we've missed, or I don't know how many tackles we've missed, but I know that it's more than anybody else in this conference. It might be like 84, something like that. But we have to do better there, okay? That's something that you can maybe within, like over the course of practices, you can maybe try to implement more of that, but you're not going to do it live. Like you're not going to be tackling other players on the team. You have to do it with like dummy work. I just look at tackling and things like that, tackling, blocking, getting off blocks. You can work on it, but it's really just about sheer like will. Because the way that we're missing tackles is more about diving at people's ankles. It's more about like not wrapping up. That's just basic fundamental stuff that Tennessee can do a much, much, much better job of. If Tennessee just does that with our overall defense, man, we're gonna be way better with our stats. And actually, I think that our passing defense, it moved up from like 112 to I want to say 97 or 99 is something like that. So it's moved up just from the Alabama game where we limited them to like way less passing yards than most teams do. So I think that we are taking some steps forward just from that standpoint. I think that we can do better getting into our run fits. It was better versus Bama, but I think that it could be even better versus teams that want to do like the misdirection stuff. Teams that want to run like read options and things like that. That's where the problems are. Those are the problems that we'll run into versus Oklahoma, versus Vanderbilt, teams like that. But I think that we'll have something drawn up. It's not quite like Arkansas, where Arkansas, they're averaging running the football 9.7 yards per carry. That's number one in the SEC. So it's just like Tennessee, some of our numbers will be a little bit skewed just based off of the teams that we've played, based off of the style of how they play versus us. But yeah, I mean, it's just about basic fundamental stuff. It's about execution. I don't think that it's nearly as much about Coach Banks and what he's calling. Now, there are some things that I think he could do a better job at. I'm not saying that he's perfect by any means, but the biggest, the most room for growth is with our players just executing. And again, that's about basic fundamental stuff. All right, let me get to some more of these chats, man. So this one is from Charles Webb. Yeah, I think that that's a fact for sure. This one, all right, talking to Androl. And Androl is saying here that Vandy and the Sooners are at home. That's a huge part of it for sure. It's saying that that makes a massive difference, 1,000%. So now when both quarterbacks are Heisman candidates, yeah, I don't know if Oklahoma's quarterback is still a Heisman candidate. If you're talking about Oklahoma and Vandy, I don't know. Pavia should be up there. Pavia is good. I mean, they were good last year, but their offense didn't look nearly as good versus Tennessee last season as it did versus everybody, versus most other teams. I think that their offense is better, and I don't think that our defense is necessarily as good. But by that time, we should be clicking on all cylinders. The game's at home. That could be a game that Tennessee needs to win to stay alive for the playoff hunt. But I also think that with 2 SEC losses, Alabama's got, I know that they got Oklahoma coming up. They've got Auburn coming up. That's 2 potential losses. Georgia, I mean, Texas hasn't looked good, but maybe because they looked great last year, but Georgia beat them. So it could be the opposite this season. I think that they might match up well. I don't know, but I could see Georgia also losing to Florida, just all based off of how things go. I could see Georgia maybe losing to Tech, but they need to lose more like SEC games, obviously, for us to get to that point where we can make it into the playoffs. I think probably at least 3 SEC teams are going to make it to the college football playoffs. A&M, they've got Texas. I don't know who else they have left. There's going to be some sort of a challenge for them. Maybe Oklahoma. But I think that they might go to the SEC championship. But the whole point here, y'all, there's still a lot of games left. And with there being so much parity in this conference, anybody can lose and win. And we have to win out now. This was a game versus Bama that I really wanted us to win because going down to the swamp, that's a tough one. We can't lose anymore, obviously. All right, so this one from Andrew saying that the pick 6 was just a bad play for sure, and that he needs to put that outside. Yep, for sure. And with allotment, that's a fact. And that Saturday was not great for him, but to be fair, it was also the worst pass blocking that he's had. Yeah, so all that is true. And he also did some good things. I think that he did some nice things, but it's all about what do you do in the biggest moments, you know what I'm saying? Like in the biggest situations. And I think that he's going to be fine moving forward, but he has to clean some stuff up. He's got to, and I noticed it not just on that pick 6, but on some other passes. Dog, like you got to zip the football more. I think he's trying to catch it for the wide receivers or for the pass catchers that he's throwing to. He's throwing it to Miles Kitson on that pick 6. I think he's trying to catch it for him. I think he's trying to make a play there. But everyone just has to do their job. Your job as the quarterback is just get the football to him. His job as the pass catcher is to catch the damn football. If he doesn't, that's on him. And I think that Braham looked pretty good coming in. He also had a drop. I think that Jack looked pretty good running his routes and all that. But it might be time to see more of the young guys so that we can catch the football, right? And I'm just talking about like with the tight ends. Tennessee doesn't really have very much depth with our young wide receivers. Okay, so let me pull this one back up. Okay, so Charles is saying he thinks that the competition was just better, but that we will beat Kentucky or that we will pick them apart. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like I said, I haven't gone through a lot of their film. I know that they're going to play hard. I know that they're going to have some, it's going to be some challenges for us. But yeah, that is a game that we should be able to win pretty big. Yeah, man. That's a fact. And so this one right here from Big Dog's Gotta Eat. Thank you for being a member, sir. And he's asking, do I think that Joey Aguilar comes back for one more season? I think that he should have. I think that he should have some more time left with the lawsuit. So I'm not sure on that. I think that if he could come back, that he probably would. I'm not sure how the coaching staff looks at it. There's a lot of moving pieces because you think about it, man. We got GMAC. He might be okay with sitting for one more year. And maybe Faison Brandon is also cool with it. But I think that you got to check on that first. Like, you got to look at the future of that room because quarterbacks are hard to come by, especially good ones. And then they cost a lot of money. But in some ways, it would be positive if Joey sticks with us because we got to go to the portal anyway to get like a veteran quarterback that's fine with sitting on the bench. That's really hard to find. So I don't know. With the ruling, the way that I understand it, I don't think that he's going to have more time. But who knows? All right, so let me get to some more of these chats, man, and then we're gonna wrap this thing up because I do gotta run. So this one's from Rick. He said that was the worst that was the worst job by the offensive line this season. I wonder if we were better off not messing with the chemistry. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was thinking too, just in watching the film, and we will have some things out for the some things from our offense for the members on this channel. We're gonna have that out at some point today. But yeah, just like with the pass blocking, it wasn't even that it was necessarily bad physically. It was just bad from a mental standpoint of knowing who to pick up. Because when we knew who to pick up, for the most part, it was still good. You know, there were times when Joey had plenty of time to throw, not just on 3-man pressures, but on sometimes when they're blitzing and all of that. But yeah, it definitely that was, I think, like the worst game for our offensive line from a pass blocking standpoint. But they did move the defensive line, the defensive front for Alabama most of the game. All right, this was saying that Joey won't be back if Tennessee wins out. Yeah, I don't. I'm not sure on that. The offensive line blocked great, and things changed because Bama had the lead. Yeah, and then again, we were just way too pass happy. That didn't help us out. We got to be a lot more balanced. And Tony is saying that everyone needs to realize that Hype is still he's still young as a head coach, and that at the same point that Coach Saban was at Michigan State, give the man a bit more time. Yeah, I don't have any problems with Coach Hype. I mean, outside of, and I think that I might have started to talk about this. I don't know if I ever really finished this thought, but let me get to this, and then I'm gonna get right back to you, Charles. But in the game versus Alabama last week, we had 15 penalties. I thought that it would have been more the last time that we went down there in 2023, but we only had 8 penalties in that game. We do have to be cleaner. We do have to be better there, and we do have to just kind of stick to what we do the best. I think that we have to do that. It was tough with the way that the game started, but I think that you have to be patient, you know, and like it was said, he is a young coach. He's still kind of, I guess, figuring that out, but I don't think he's a bad coach by any means. Charles is saying, tie the ball game, the crowd is out of it, and that safety brought Bama fans back to life. Yeah, I think that safety was a huge play for sure. This one's saying, truthfully, that Coach Majors and Coach Fulmer had a different mindset, and that you don't win championships, you take them. Josh Hype has to learn that. Yeah, I think that you're right about that. I think that he does need to, maybe in some instances, not in like a major way, not to me. I think that he does need to kind of understand that, yeah, you're gonna have to go take this stuff. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna have to in the games when you're on the road. I mean, you got to go for it. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to be gutsy. It's kind of like with boxers. If you're fighting up against the champion, you can't run and hide the whole game. Not necessarily saying that this is what we did, but you got to go take the belt from him. Like you got to go beat him up. And so I do think that that's a mindset that we could do a little bit better with for the team top to bottom. All right, so this one from Daniel is saying that, so you're saying that we have a chance. I am. I'm not sure if you're talking to me, but I definitely am saying that. So Tony is saying that, Bull, you need to put the Kool-Aid down. The D isn't improving until maybe next year. The season is already halfway done. So yeah, that's not Kool-Aid. That's honestly me. And again, I know that most people don't fully understand the X's and O's of football. You're gonna look at Tennessee's ranked here, Tennessee's ranked there, right? But we do our best to break it down and show you how we're doing versus other programs. So in the video that we put out yesterday, I don't know if you watched that video, Tony, but go back and watch it. Tennessee's pass defense versus Alabama, we had one of the best pass defenses versus Alabama all season long, like in a lot of the categories. So it has already gotten better. You know what I'm saying? Like we gave up a lot more yards to Arkansas passing the football. It looked a lot worse than it did versus Alabama. And I don't even know necessarily with just yards, but with like a lot of the different metrics. Arkansas looked better passing the football inside of Neyland than Alabama did inside of their own stadium. So I think that speaks volumes. Now, whenever we're leading the conference in missed tackles, okay, which actually, are we leading the conference? I'm pretty sure that we are. We're at least top 3. Sorry that I don't those numbers, things kind of got messed up there. But because we're missing so many tackles, think about how many stops Tennessee would have had, right? Think about how many first downs that we gave up off of missed tackles. You can just go back and watch the game because see, you can see that type of stuff on screen plays. On the one play when number 5, he's trying to pass it down the field. It was like 4 or 5 missed tackles just on that play. We should have stopped him for like a 15-yard loss. I don't know if that was second down or third down or what, but he ends up getting the first down. So it's little things like that. Yeah, if the fundamentals get better, then the defense gets significantly better. So that's just me. I know that, some people call it being a homer or drinking the Kool-Aid, but people always say that. But if you take the time to Look at the numbers that we put out for you. Look at the film that we put out for you. We're breaking down why we're saying what we're saying. It's not homer takes. It's literally what we're seeing. If I felt like, man, the defense just can't get better, I would say that, which actually something that I talked about, I want to say last week. And over the course of the whole week, I said, I don't know if our safeties can get better. I'm not sure. But they looked a lot better versus Alabama than they did leading up to that point. They took steps forward. So if they can get better, then we can damn sure get better in other spots. We're seeing that some young linebackers are stepping up where we're not as good out in space. They're a lot better out in space. As they get more reps, they're going to get better. So on and so forth. All right. So that's just the way that I see it. And it's cool if you see it differently. All right, so this one right here from Samuel. Thank you for being a member, sir. Saying that the biggest part about making the playoffs, yeah. So I think that is a huge part of it for sure. There's no doubt. Like, you got to have the Jimmies and Joes. But Tennessee's shown and proven that we can get to the playoffs with, I don't know exactly where our roster was ranked at. It's based off 24/7 Sports from a talent standpoint last season, but we made it to the college football playoffs. It was not one of the more talented rosters in the SEC. I think that we're probably like at number 7 or number 8. So we're kind of low for, it might have been even lower than that. We might still kind of be in that ballpark, right? We might be at number 6 or something now. Moved up just some. But for sure, you have to have the Jimmies and Joes. But with our systems, because we can coach well, because we have some good guys on the staff, they get more out of their players. So again, like we touched on, whenever you go play the Bamas and the Georgias, the teams that have more talent, you got to keep in mind that they do have more talent. And if the games are even relatively close, it means that we have a better coaching staff than what they have. But yeah, I think that's a great point. We have to keep on bringing in more talent. I'm excited to see what the future of this team is because we got a lot of really good players coming in. And we also have to be better, and I'm going to come right back to that. We have to be better at, you can follow the NFL's model of how they're bringing in talent, right? Like where they spend the most money at on their rosters. Of course, you can follow that model. But with the safeties, I think that we need to probably spend more than some other teams, or at least more than what we're doing now, because we need better safety play. Now, I'm not picking on Tennessee safeties right now because I do think that they played better last weekend, but we still have to have more talent back there. Like that definitely has to happen because in the NFL, there's a little bit of a talent difference, but it's a little bit of a talent difference in college. You could have a safety that, we'll just call it, hey, you spent $50,000 on this safety. Well, that versus safety that somebody spends $100,000 on, like the difference in their talent is astronomical. So you have to have good safety play to have an elite defense. You can't have like a really good defense without really good safety play. So yeah, have to do a better job from that standpoint for sure. Running back's a place where, yeah, I'd love to have some good running backs, but that's a place, dog, you don't need to have game breakers there. Like you really don't. It's cool if you do, but running backs is always, that's a dime a dozen all the way up pretty much. Okay. All right, so this one right here from Big Dog's Got to Eat, asking, do I think that there's still an opportunity for Tennessee's defense to dial it up and become a top 15 to 20 defense by year's end with Mod? So now I don't think that we're going to be able to get to that high of a level, not from a stat standpoint, because we're already halfway through the year. We would have to be we'd have to be incredible for the numbers to look like that on paper. But as far as how they actually play, I think that it's possible. Again, I talked about it last week. With the safeties, I thought that there was a ceiling there, but they showed me they took some steps forward. At linebacker, with the guys that were starting, unless we start some of the other players, I think that there's kind of a ceiling there. But, I could say that I think that Jeremiah Thielander had a much better game last weekend. Arion Carter, this is going to be the interesting thing. I talked about Arion Carter being able to get drafted this year. I don't think that he's at that point now. Maybe get drafted in some super late rounds. We'll see. And I'm definitely not wishing it on him, but I don't think that he's played well enough where he's draftable linebacker. He might try to come back for next year. That linebacker room is going to start to get crowded. I'm not sure what the staff does there. I mean, they would probably try to hold on to those vets, but I think that the young guys are really catching up to them, and I think that they're about to start passing them up. So, I mean, people would have to play better. Can they do it? I think so, but top 15 to 20, I can't. I'm not sure how realistic that is. And I don't think that we even need them to be that good. Can you be top 30? I think if we're top 30, this team can beat anybody. You know what I'm saying? So let me get to some more of these. Let me get to some more. All right, so also from Tony, he's saying bad angles, tackling coverage, linebacker play. I think that we took, it was not nearly as bad versus Alabama as what it was versus Arkansas. Not even close. Like with really, tackling wasn't good. Coverage, I don't think that the coverage was bad. It was just it was the busting coverage for sure. We're still kind of busting on things that we shouldn't be busting on, and it feels like it's coming right now versus Alabama from more veterans. Got to be a lot better there. But I think that we are taking some steps forward. And that's like with the fundamental stuff, y'all, you can grow exponentially on defense with that because defense is mostly just about effort. You can call anything and anything can work if you have the proper personnel, right? So, like playing man to man coverage, which I know everybody wants to do that. I mean, the personnel that you have to have for that is like astronomical. It's really super duper high. Very tough to do that. And we saw it on the plays that, we talked about it. Colton Hood gives up that fade. That was man. He was playing man to man there. It was really quarters, but he's playing bumper run man coverage on the pass that Boo gave up on that crossing pattern to Ryan Williams. That was man. It's tough to do it. It's like those guys are good in coverage, but it's tough playing man. So the whole point here is, with defense, if we just don't bust on coverages, if we just make simple tackles, fundamental stuff, then we can get exponentially better for sure. All right, so this one is saying just not there this year. Okay, and that's fine if you feel that way. There's nothing wrong with that, bro. All right, and Jeff is saying that we're the youngest team in the conference. The championship windows open and close quickly in this day and age, so that we have to capitalize. But my championship expectations are for the next 2 to 3 years, and I totally understand that. Yeah, I think that that's a good way to maybe look at it because this team is very young, and Tony's on the same page with you. That's what that looks like. And this one from Jeff is also saying would love to have Joey come back next year with this offense 1 year older and getting some help back or some help on defense inside of the portal for sure. All right. And this one's saying that he doesn't remember seeing a linebacker just yeah, I mean, I disagree with that thoroughly, bro. Like, there was a lot of times that we blocked him. Dog, like, David Sanders blocked him one-on-one several times, stonewalled him several times. But this is the point. If you only watch the game from the live copy, you're missing probably about 85% of what's actually happening because you're looking at the football and the camera is focused on the football. It's not showing you all 22 players, which is why we put out that film. Man, we dominated him for most of the game. We dropped back like 50 times. They had a total of 4 sacks on 50 dropbacks. That should tell you something. I mean, listen, I've seen a lot of players be a lot more dominant than what he did. He had a couple of good pass rushes. And I want to say on all of his sacks, it was just we weren't helping where we're supposed to be helping at. So it's really not like that. But that's the thing. I know that some people have their narratives or some people see things how they see it. And like I said, that's perfectly fine. But I mean, like I've watched the film, so I can tell you, like, that's not what I'm saying. Is coming from watching every single player on every single play. It's not from watching like live copies, which again you can't really see a whole lot of what's going on from the live copies. All right, so this one from Charles is asking, do I think that Ole Miss has the easiest path? Yeah, so Ole Miss, I think that their strength of schedule for all ACC teams, I think that it is the weakest left. But man, they got some problems on defense. I think that their offense can be pretty good, but on defense, I could see them losing for sure. So they've already lost one SEC game, only one game over the course of the year, but I could see them losing maybe 2 or 3 more, honestly. All right, and this one from Tony saying that the game versus the Gators. So who knows which way they'll go with Coach Nate gone. Half the players may bolt before then. Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen, but that is a good point. That's possible. I think that they'll probably try to stick it out. But, Florida, I was never one where I wanted Napier gone because Florida's a program with all the state or with all the talent in that state. Dog, I mean, they could be a juggernaut overnight. Like, literally overnight. They've got a lot of talent on that roster right now. They could turn into a juggernaut overnight just in this season. So I never wanted him fired. I was happy. We knew what the expectations were from him. He's got a really tough schedule. I think that he did pretty good with it, but man, somebody could get in there and turn that thing around quickly. So I don't know. Some kids, I think there's a lot of people that just really like Florida, like players. They're always going to be able to get players, and I think hold on to players too. So I don't know. I mean, maybe players want to stay, maybe they want to go, but I think that is a good point. All right, so this one, yeah, I think we probably need to try to stick with a 5. I understand why they're doing it, trying to keep guys fresh, trying to keep guys happy. But we do need to be a lot more solid with at least the size of the offensive line that they're playing on. You know what I mean? Like, that's just me. I think, hey, man, if you're playing at left guard, you still got to cross-train some in practice. It's good to get those practice reps in. That's another place that I think Tennessee takes huge steps forward at because once our best 5, Once they get solid, dog, as good as the offensive line's been up to this point, outside of the Bama game, it's going to get, I think, exponentially better. But anyway, yeah, I think that maybe just try to stick to a certain side and all that. Okay, so let me get this one right here from CTB Spiffy, because he's always joining us. Saying that we got to take hiring coordinators serious. I think that we're fine with our coordinators. Personally, I think that we're fine. I know that some people want to fire, but I don't see it that way. I think that our coordinators are doing a pretty good job. You know, a couple of tweaks, but there's no reason, in my opinion, for folks to be getting fired. All right, so this one right here saying watching UT and the Falcons is deja vu. Bro, I was thinking the same thing last night. I was like, man, the Falcons can't tackle. Tennessee couldn't tackle. But again, I don't think that that's coaching. No, I don't think it's necessarily coaching for either one of the teams. For the Falcons, I mean, we had our best linebacker go down, 0, and we have a horrible. I mean, I have no idea. Some of the guys that are out there playing a backer doesn't feel like. Not trying to take a shot at those guys. Doesn't feel like they should be playing NFL football at all. Does not feel like it. They're just not very good. But whenever we have all of our guys out there, we're better. So for the Falcons, I would say on our defense, yeah, there are some talent issues. Maybe some. I don't even think that. I mean, shoot, look at the offensive line, man. Like, we had people banged up. The right tackle was terrible. But anyway, I'm not going to talk too much about the Falcons. But I just personally, I disagree. I don't think that it's coaching. I think the players need to execute better, and maybe that could be on some coaching. Maybe we need to make a stronger point of emphasis that, hey, man, if you don't execute, I don't care if you're a fifth-year senior. The young guys are going to start over you. I think maybe we could do more of that. And not a lot of coaches do it these days. But I think that that's a place that we could maybe be getting better at. All right, so. Okay, so that's gonna do it, y'all, because I do need to skate. I know that there's a lot that I haven't gotten to, but thank y'all so much for joining us. Members, we're gonna do our best to get some stuff out for y'all today. Might be a little bit later on today, but we'll definitely have some more breakdowns. We're gonna every single play from the Alabama game, we're going to be breaking that down. If y'all want to see it, y'all can join us on Patreon at patreon.com/Bluechip Breakdown, or you can join us on YouTube at YouTube just by clicking on the join button just below this video. But with all that being said, I hope that y'all have a great rest of y'all's Monday, and we'll be talking to y'all later on. Thanks. Peace.